The turning of a year arrives quietly, no trumpet sounds, no force moves with it. The calendar shifts, and the world pretends something meaningful has occurred. You feel it too, a strange weight, a familiar pressure, the sense that something should change, yet rarely does. Most people stand at the edge of a new year exactly as they stood at the edge of the last one. Same thoughts, same fears, same habits dressed in new language. They speak of hope. They speak of motivation. They speak of resolutions. And 12 months later, they speak of excuses. This is not because they are unlucky. It is not because time betrayed them. It is because time changes nothing by itself. A year does not change a life. A decision does. And most people never make one. The harsh truth, you have been taught a comforting lie, and because it felt gentle, you accepted it without resistance. You were told that time heals, that if you simply wait long enough, clarity will arrive and wounds will close themselves. You were told that motivation will carry you forward, that one powerful feeling, one surge of inspiration, can sustain months or years of effort. You were told that luck appears when the moment is right, and that effort alone, regardless of its direction or discipline, is noble enough to be rewarded by life itself. These ideas were never meant to strengthen you. They were meant to soothe you. These beliefs are not cruel. Cruelty is obvious and easy to reject. These beliefs are far more dangerous. They are soft. They invite patience where urgency is required. They encourage waiting where command is necessary. They train you to endure instead of decide. Time does not transform character. It only reveals it. A year passing over a weak decision does not make it stronger. It exposes how weak it always was. Motivation does not build lives. Motivation fades the instant resistance appears, and resistance always appears. Luck does not arrive for the unprepared. It moves toward those who have already chosen their direction and aligned their actions. An effort, when it is not governed by a clear inner authority, is nothing more than movement in circles. You may feel busy, you may feel tired, but you are not advancing. Look closely at your past, not with nostalgia and not with self-hatred, but with honesty. How many times did you feel inspired? How many moments convinced you that change was finally near? How many times did you promise yourself, quietly or aloud, that this year would be different, that this time you would follow through, that something inside you had finally shifted, and yet the pattern returned? The same delays reappeared, wearing new reasons. The same fears spoke with familiar voices. The same habits survived another season untouched. The calendar changed, but the identity remained in power. Nothing changed because nothing inside you was commanded to change. There was no inner law issued, no final decision enforced, no authority established. Life does not respond to desire, no matter how sincere. It does not bend to hope, no matter how desperate. It does not obey emotion, no matter how intense. Life responds only to authority, the authority you either claim within yourself or surrender by default. The death of the old identity. Every genuine beginning requires a death. This is not a metaphor designed to sound profound. It is a law. Nothing new is allowed to fully live while the old is still permitted to rule. Transformation does not occur through addition. It occurs through removal. What you are becoming cannot coexist with what you have been. One must give way, completely and without negotiation. This death is not symbolic. It is not poetic. It is not something you acknowledge once and move past. It is actual. It is decisive. You cannot drag the old self across the threshold of a new year and expect a new life to meet you there. The old self will corrupt it. The old self will dilute it. The old self will quietly reclaim control when you are tired, distracted, or uncertain. That version of you, the one who hesitated when action was required, who delayed when clarity was present, who negotiated with fear as though it deserved a voice, must be buried, not refined, not corrected, not gently guided into better behavior. Buried. Improvement assumes the foundation is sound. It is not. Adjustment assumes the structure can hold greater weight. It cannot. The identity that produced your past results is incapable of producing anything else. To keep it alive is to guarantee repetition. Imagine the scene clearly. a funeral without witnesses, a quiet grave dug deep enough that nothing can crawl back out. The old habits are lowered into the earth one by one, the comfort-seeking, the self-betrayal, the endless explanations. The old excuses are sealed away, deprived of air and light, the old inner voice that whispered, later, that promised, soon, that justified delay and fear, is silenced without ceremony. No speeches are given, no honors are paid. That voice has ruled long enough. It has sat on the throne of your decisions, issuing weak commands and calling them caution. It has worn the crown of comfort and fear, disguising avoidance as patience and doubt as wisdom. Under its reign, potential was postponed and power was deferred. Year after year, it governed your life while pretending to protect you, and it must be removed. You cannot serve two masters. You cannot obey discipline while still honoring weakness. You cannot demand authority from yourself while allowing fear to hold a vote. One identity must die so another may rule. There is no middle ground, no shared power, no peaceful transition. Only when the old self is fully laid to rest does the new one rise with legitimacy, strength, and command. A moment of reflection, be honest now. Not later, not after you have softened the truth, not after you have found language that makes the past easier to accept. Be honest in this moment, because honesty is the only ground on which change can stand. Remove the excuses. Set aside the explanations. Look directly at the record of your own life. How many opportunities did you delay, fully aware that delay was a decision in disguise? How many moments did you feel the call to act, felt it clearly and unmistakably, and then chose retreat over movement? How many times did you almost act, standing at the edge of change, convincing yourself that almost was close enough to count, almost learned, almost committed, almost became? Almost is a comfortable word. It allows you to feel near progress without ever crossing into it. It creates the illusion of movement while preserving safety, and years are lost inside that illusion. How many times did you tell yourself the same story, repeating it until it sounded like truth? You told yourself you would move when things calmed down, as if life ever does. You told yourself you would begin when you felt ready, as if readiness is anything more than a decision delayed. You told yourself the time was not right, as though time announces permission. These phrases became familiar companions, spoken so often that they stopped sounding like excuses and started sounding like wisdom. And while you waited, life moved on without you. How much of your life has been postponed under the promise of someday? How many chapters were never written because you kept rereading the same page? How many versions of yourself existed only in thought, never allowed to take form through action? Ask yourself now, slowly and without defense. Who would you be today if you had acted the first time you knew what needed to be done? Who would you be if hesitation had never been granted authority over your decisions? Who would you be if you had obeyed your own inner command instead of debating it? These questions are not gentle. They are not designed to reassure you or to soften regret. They are meant to expose the cost of delay. They are meant to confront you with the weight of unrealized potential. Do not rush past them. Sit with them. Let them press against you. Discomfort is the signal that truth has been reached. This moment of reflection is not about punishment. It is about awakening. Until you see clearly what hesitation has taken from you, you will continue to protect it. And nothing changes until what once felt safe becomes unacceptable. The law of decision life does not respond to intentions, no matter how sincere they sound or how strongly they are felt in a moment of emotion. Intentions are invisible to reality. They carry no weight. Life responds only to decisions made with authority. Not hesitant decisions, not conditional decisions, but decisions that are final, uncompromising, and enforced from within. A decision is not a wish disguised as optimism. It is not a plan written to comfort the mind. It is not a list of goals that can be revised when pressure appears. Those are preferences, and preferences collapse under resistance. A true decision is something far more severe. It is an inner law you impose upon yourself. knowing in advance that you will be required to obey it regardless of discomfort, fear, or changing emotion. Once issued, it is not debated, it is executed. Most lives remain small because their owners never establish law over themselves. They negotiate with their own weakness. They allow mood to overrule commitment. They allow fear to vote. And in doing so, they surrender authority. Life mirrors that surrender. It becomes uncertain, unstable, and inconsistent because it is responding accurately to the inner disorder. Great lives are not constructed through scattered effort or endless goal setting. They are built around one governing decree that organizes every action, every refusal, every sacrifice. One line you do not cross, even when no one is watching. One standard you do not betray, even when it would be easier to lower it. One identity you do not abandon, even when the cost is temporary loss or isolation. When you decide with authority, doubt becomes irrelevant. Doubt may appear, but it is no longer consulted. Emotion becomes secondary. You feel what you feel, but you do not obey it. Mood loses its power to dictate action. Discipline replaces motivation. Structure replaces hope. You no longer ask whether you feel like acting. You act because the law has already been established. This is the difference between drifting and directing, between reacting and ruling. When a decision is final, the mind stops searching for alternatives. Energy consolidates. Clarity sharpens. Action becomes clean and direct. You do not move because you are inspired. You move because you have ruled. And once you have ruled yourself, life responds accordingly. The command declaration, this is not a mantra designed to soothe you. It is not positive thinking meant to create temporary confidence. It is not a phrase spoken to feel better in difficult moments. It is an order. It carries weight only if you treat it as law. Anything less turns it into noise. A command declaration must be spoken plainly, not dramatically, not emotionally. Authority never raises its voice. It does not persuade, it states. The moment you dress a declaration in excitement or desperation, you weaken it. Power is calm. Power is direct. Power does not seek agreement from fear or comfort. It issues instruction and expects obedience. When you speak the decree, you are not trying to convince yourself. You are announcing jurisdiction. You are defining who rules your inner world. This is why the words must be simple and absolute. Complexity invites loopholes. Emotion invites exceptions. A command allows none. I no longer negotiate with weakness. I act as the man I have decided to be. This is not said to feel strong. It is said to establish authority. It is not spoken once and admired. It is spoken repeatedly and enforced. You say it slowly so the mind hears it. You say it daily so the mind accepts it. You say it when fear appears because fear is testing your authority. You say it when comfort tempts you because comfort is attempting to reclaim control. Repetition is not about motivation. It is about conditioning. The mind learns through repetition, not through understanding. It does not care what is true. It cares what is enforced. When the same command is issued consistently, the mind stops arguing and starts aligning. Resistance weakens. Excuses lose their voice. Action becomes automatic. Over time, the words disappear and only the behavior remains. You no longer recite the declaration to act. You act because the declaration has reshaped your instincts. The command becomes reflex. Decision replaces debate. Movement replaces hesitation. Character is not formed in moments of inspiration. It is formed through obedience to self-issued law. Every time you obey your declaration, you strengthen it. Every time you violate it, you weaken your authority. There is no neutral ground. A true command declaration does not ask how you feel. It does not wait for the right conditions. It stands unmoved, demanding alignment. And when you obey it long enough, you no longer need to remind yourself who you are. Your actions make the announcement for you. Mental discipline and purification, no transformation survives a polluted mind. You may change your environment, your schedule, or your intentions. But if the inner world remains undisciplined, the old patterns will quietly return and reclaim control. The mind is the command center of your life. If it is left unguarded, every decision that follows will be compromised. You must cleanse your inner dialogue. Not occasionally, not when you remember. Constantly. The thoughts you allow to remain are the laws you live under. Every doubtful thought is a trespasser that has crossed a boundary without permission. Every fearful story is an intruder attempting to rewrite your authority. Every excuse is a rebellion against the order you have declared. If these are allowed to speak freely, discipline collapses from within. Do not argue with them. Argument implies equality. It grants the thought the same authority you are trying to establish. You do not negotiate with disorder. You remove it, command it out. Replace debate with dismissal. When a thought undermines your direction, it does not deserve analysis. It deserves removal. Silence is strength. A mind that does not chatter endlessly retains power. Control is power. The ability to choose which thoughts are permitted to remain is one of the highest forms of discipline. This does not mean suppressing awareness. It means refusing to obey what weakens you. You are not required to entertain every thought that appears simply because it arrives. Thoughts arise automatically. Authority does not. You are required to govern them. Governance is calm. It is firm. It does not panic or explain itself. When doubt speaks, you do not chase it. You return to the law you have already issued. When fear appears, you acknowledge its presence without granting it command. When excuses attempt to justify retreat, you cut them off at the root. This level of mental discipline feels unfamiliar at first because most people are ruled by their minds instead of ruling them. They mistake awareness for obedience. They believe every thought carries meaning. It does not. Most thoughts are residue, echoes of past conditioning, habits, and fear. Discipline is not punishment, it is clarity. It simplifies the inner world. It removes noise. It creates order where chaos once ruled. A disciplined mind is not tense, it is quiet. From that quiet, decisive action becomes natural. When the mind is purified, effort is no longer wasted fighting itself. All energy moves in one direction. And when your inner world is governed, the outer world follows. Historical proof: study the men who shaped eras, not to admire them, but to understand the law they obeyed. History does not elevate those who wished loudly or dreamed publicly. It remembers those who ruled themselves when uncertainty surrounded them. Their greatness was not born from emotion or circumstance. It was forged from certainty. Edison did not hope the light would work. Hope would have collapsed under the weight of thousands of failed experiments. He decided it would work, and that decision governed his persistence. Failure did not speak to him as discouragement, it spoke as information. When others would have retreated, he remained unmoved, not because he felt confident, but because his inner command did not allow surrender. Ford was not motivated. Motivation rises and falls with comfort. He was definitive. When the world told him mass production was impossible, he did not debate the opinion. He rejected it. His clarity was so complete that resistance only strengthened his resolve. He moved forward with the calm authority of a man who had already decided the outcome long before the evidence appeared. Carnegie ruled his thoughts before he ruled steel. He understood that no empire is built outside until order is established within. He disciplined his thinking, controlled his focus, and eliminated inner conflict. Because his mind obeyed him, his actions followed with precision. Wealth came as a consequence, not a pursuit. Lincoln stood firm while the world shook because his inner command did not waver. He faced division, ridicule, and threat, yet he did not retreat into emotion or fear. His strength was not loud, it was immovable. He carried certainty quietly, and that certainty anchored a nation in its darkest hour. These men were not louder than others. They did not speak more often or with greater force. They were more certain. Certainty creates gravity. It draws people, resources, and opportunity without announcement. The world responds instinctively to those who do not hesitate within themselves. Napoleon Hill understood this law with precision. He observed it repeatedly across industries and lives. Whatever the mind definitively decides and refuses to surrender, life rearranges itself around. Not immediately, not gently, but inevitably. History confirms it again and again. Those who decide with authority bend circumstance. while those who hesitate are bent by it. Evidence of transformation. When the change occurs, you will not announce it. There will be no need to explain what has shifted, no urge to seek recognition or approval. Transformation that is real does not advertise itself. It does not ask to be seen. It is felt. Others will sense it before you ever speak of it, because authority carries a presence that requires no introduction. Your speech will slow, not because you are unsure, but because you are no longer rushed by doubt. Words will be chosen carefully. Silence will become comfortable. You will no longer fill space to reassure yourself or others. You will speak only when there is something that must be said, and when you do, your words will carry weight. Your actions will sharpen. There will be less movement, but more progress. Every step will serve a purpose. Distraction will lose its grip because your direction is settled. You will not scatter your energy across endless possibilities. You will move toward what has already been decided with focus and restraint. Your presence will steady. Emotional spikes will flatten. You will not be easily provoked or easily impressed. Praise will not inflate you, and criticism will not unbalance you. The inner noise that once demanded reaction will quiet. In its place will be a calm firmness that does not need validation. You will explain less because explanation is often a substitute for certainty. You will justify nothing because justification implies doubt. When you know where you stand, there is nothing to defend. You will not seek permission to act, nor will you seek sympathy when action is difficult. You will simply proceed. Precision will replace effort. Instead of forcing outcomes, you will position yourself correctly and let results follow. Decisions will be cleaner. Refusals will be easier. Boundaries will be clearer. People will notice that you no longer drift into conversations, commitments, or obligations that dilute your purpose. Authority does not argue, it does not persuade, it does not compete for attention. It moves, quietly, deliberately, with direction already established. Resistance does not excite it, and obstacles do not insult it. Authority advances, adjusts, and continues. This is the evidence of inner change, not excitement, not urgency, not performance, but composure, control, consistency. When transformation is genuine, it is recognized without words. Those around you will not ask what happened. They will feel it. And you will know that the change is real because you no longer need to prove it. The closing law here is the truth that ends all debate. It does not bend to opinion, and it does not soften itself to spare your feelings. It stands whether you accept it or not. Destiny does not respond to wishes. It has never answered hope, emotion, or good intentions. Destiny responds only to command. A wish asks. A command declares. A wish waits. A command moves. When you wish, you place yourself beneath circumstance and ask for permission. When you command, you assume authority and force alignment. Life recognizes this difference immediately. It yields only to those who rule themselves without hesitation. The year ahead is not waiting to reward you for patience or effort alone. It is not holding gifts for those who mean well or try occasionally. The year ahead is neutral. It has no loyalty. It does not care about your past struggles or future promises. It is waiting to obey the level of authority you bring into it. If you enter it undecided, it will scatter you. If you enter it hopeful, it will test you. If you enter it disciplined, it will follow you. Every day will mirror your inner command. Weakness will be answered with resistance. Certainty will be answered with opportunity. Delay will be answered with repetition. Authority will be answered with progress. This is not punishment or reward. It is alignment. Ruling yourself without compromise is not about perfection. It is about consistency. It is about issuing fewer commands and obeying them completely. It is about refusing to renegotiate the standards you have already set. The moment you bargain with your own weakness, you surrender the authority life responds to. Most people ask life to change while refusing to change their rule over themselves. They hope circumstances will become easier before they become stronger. They wait for confidence before they act, not realizing confidence is the consequence of action, not its cause. Life does not accommodate this confusion. It reflects it. When you rule yourself, you remove confusion. Your direction becomes clear. Your actions align. Your energy consolidates. Life responds by opening paths that were previously invisible, not because they were created, but because you are now capable of walking them. This is the law that governs all transformation. It does not require belief. It requires obedience. When you command yourself with clarity and enforce it without compromise, destiny adjusts accordingly. That is the law.